We know every NBA offseason we're going to see some dumb and really dumb and idiotically dumb contracts. That is just the climate of the NBA offseason. It is just the nature of the beast. You know, it's one of these things. Just because the salary cap explodes a certain percent doesn't mean that you pay players 2 to 3 times more what they're actually really worth. And you could say, well, the market dictates if somebody pays them, that's what they're worth. In theory, yes. But Jiminy Christmas, we've gotten to the point now where the salary cap's around $100 million, and we're paying role players a fifth of a team's salary cap space. Like guys like J.J. Redick are going out in the open marketplace and getting a 1-year contract for $20 million. I'm not saying it was a terrible signing for the Sixers. It wasn't at all. It was actually a decent signing, and it was only for 1 year. But still, J.J. Redick is getting paid $20 million. To do what? But nothing, and I repeat and I emphasize, absolutely nothing is going to top the stupidity of what in the fuck the Los Angeles Clippers did. They gave, excuse the fuck out of me for a second, they gave Blake Griffin max money. And we're talking major max money. We have sunken $35 million a year over up to 5 years into Blake fucking Griffin? Now you would think once the Clippers, and in particular Doc Rivers, created an environment where the Chris Paul trade became necessary, you felt like you were going to lose J.J. Redick in free agency, that would be the signal to, hey, you know what, maybe it's time for us to rethink it. We can't get past the second round of the playoff anyways, and we're most certainly not going to with a Chris Paul-less team. Maybe it's time to blow things up and start over. You would think, huh? You would think. But not the Los Angeles Clippers, who we've known for so many years in the past being one type of incompetent thanks to Elgin Baylor and whatever the hell he was on for 20 damn years. Now we've gotten into a different type of stupidity that is pretty much every bit as bad. A mediocre team that thinks they're better than they are, a mediocre team that thinks they're closer than they are when they don't actually realize they're farther away than they could ever freaking imagine, who continues to do things that bury themselves into a hole more and more that they're never really going to get out of one way or another, because all the while they're convincing themselves and frankly fooling themselves into thinking that the reality is anything other than what it is. But Jesus Christ, giving Blake Griffin $35 million a year, who in the fuck would do such stupid shit? Just because you could pay him that much money, just because you had the option to pay him that much money, doesn't mean you should have. We are talking about a Blake Griffin who's had 3 straight injury-shortened seasons. We are talking about a Blake Griffin that even if he makes it through the end of the regular season, finds a way to miss key games in the freaking playoffs because, oh, guess what? He's freaking hurt. The same guy that when you took him out of Oklahoma, if I remember correctly, missed his entire season as a rookie due to injury. So this has been a major bugaboo of his off and on throughout his career. Yeah, he had a couple of seasons where he played 80 games, but whoop-de-fucking-do. That's not the current reality. One way or another, this guy's had an issue staying on the court. And I'm not about to pay $35 million a year just for the fuck all of it for a guy to play 40, 50, 60 games a year for me and come up small in the damn playoffs. That's stupid. You know, when he's not sitting there punching out equipment managers for the team or whoever the hell it was, he's sitting on the bench because he's gotten hurt again. Even if he was healthy and played 82 games a year, who in the hell in today's NBA would want to pay max money to a guy that scores 21 points a game, gets about 8 rebounds, provides no real threat defensively, and in particular is no type of shot changer at the rim. He's a horrible shot blocker. Who would fucking do this? $35 million a year for Blake fucking Griffin. And to top it all off, how exactly the fuck do you think this is going to go down now that your fucking former multiple-time All-Star future Hall of Fame point guard has been traded away to Houston? And then you're hearing reports about them trying to trade for Danilo Gallinari? Gallinari? What the fuck is this organization doing? Of course, I wouldn't expect anything less from a team whose owner bought this fucking team for $2 billion when they probably weren't worth a quarter of that. Not to mention the fact he paid $2 billion for a team that had never won shit of anything that mattered and didn't even have their own stadium or arena, whatever you want to call it, in the second biggest market in the freaking country, to the point where still now at the Staples Center, they are tenants for the Los Angeles Lakers. This is the type of level of intelligence from a basketball standpoint we are dealing with the Clippers organization. Steve Ballmer blew up the value of all of these organizations by incredibly overpaying because he was so desperate as the fucking sports mark that he was to own himself a piece of the NBA pie that he went in $2 billion for a fucking lemon. A second-rate organization in the second biggest city in the country who plays second fiddle in their own damn stadium, their own damn arena. And now you're giving Blake Griffin $35 million to do what? Play 50 games? Become a decreasing presence on the boards? To give you no shot blocking? To what? Average 21, 22 maybe now because Chris Paul doesn't have the ball, creating openings for himself and DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin. He's going to average 23 a game? Give me a fucking break. Instead of this team doing the wise thing and letting Blake Griffin walk away and trying to retool, reload, rebuild, which is what smart organizations would do. Of course, we're talking about the new age Los Angeles Clippers, who are anything other than fucking smart. You allow a head coach to stay on, even though he ruined that locker room and ruined that team, all for the benefit of his entitled son, who isn't even a very good NBA role player, to the point where you had to trade away your franchise player and future Hall of Fame point guard because he got so frustrated and so pissed off that there were rules for Austin and rules for everybody else. This is the level of intelligence we're talking about here with the Los Angeles Clippers. An owner that vastly overpaid for a second-rate organization, a coach who valued a second-rate point guard over his future Hall of Famer, and of course now, following that second-rate mentality, a team that paid for a second, if not third-rate star in Blake Griffin, who struggles to stay on the court and frankly isn't that much of a difference maker even when he is there, $35 million. To put this in perspective of how stupid this is, I know it's only 1 year, but if you really think about it, in 2017-2018, Blake Griffin is going to get paid more money per year than LeBron James. And I don't care what the reality is of when LeBron signed his deal compared to when Blake Griffin signed his, skip whoop de woo. Just think about that in and of itself. If that isn't an indictment of how stupid this league is, if that isn't an indictment of how stupid the Los Angeles Clippers are, then I don't know what the hell to tell you. They basically traded Chris Paul for a couple of players and a bag of dicks so that way they could give Blake Griffin $35 million a year. $35 million a year for a somewhat of a stat sheet stuffer who can't stay healthy, who plays small in big moments, who likes to punch equipment managers. What else would you expect from a second-rate sports owner, a second-rate head coach, and a second-rate organization? I don't care what other contract you see. Nothing is going to be more ridiculous, more idiotic, more stupid than giving Blake Griffin $175 million over 5 years. Who does that shit?